Now, as a beginner, there are several ways to get into real estate, but typically it breaks down to what do you have? Do you have money? Do you have credit? Do you have great stability in your job? Some of us don't have all three, and for those particular people who don't have all three, you'll probably, more than likely, won't be able to qualify for a loan, or it'll be very hard for you to qualify for a loan. So for those people, you don't have to wait, okay? Now, don't get me wrong, you can increase your credit, you can get a better job and wait 2 years. You can, you can save up more money and get a higher down payment, and that will help you get into real estate. But there are ways to get into real estate without having to use your credit or any of your own money. And today I just want to give you 5 ways of how you can be creative to help you get into real estate investing now. What's up, guys? It's your boy Sawan Belcher. This is me taking action. I'm a full-time real estate investor here in Greensboro, North Carolina. If you got a deal, send it to me at sbelcher@buytryithomes.com, and I'll be glad to make an offer on your property. Anyway, I'm a full-time real estate investor here. I love buying property in the area. You know, we have an extensive rental portfolio between Brown Summit and all the way down to Clemensville. And we like some Airbnbs and group homes, but essentially we use real estate to live our dream life. Okay, so whatever you want to do, whatever you're doing right now, we replace that with real estate. Before I got started in this business, I was selling cars, and then boom, I jumped into the business by the way of a traditional loan through a bank. I probably worked on it for about 1.5 years. I worked on increasing my credit because I had student loans I wasn't paying for. I had a couple things in collection, so I was working on settlements and paying those things off and getting them off my credit report. Now, I don't know if I would have changed my experience because all of that was learning. I had never done any of that stuff before, so that was a whole experience. But it took me 1.5 years to actually qualify for the loan. And after doing the business now full time, I understand that I didn't have to do any of those things if I really didn't want to. I could have got in the business sooner, which means I could have left the dealership sooner, which means I could have skipped 1.5 years worth of headaches at my job. And so today I want to share how you can get a little creative and be able to get into some of these real estate deals. Number one is you don't necessarily have to have the money prepared or ready to go, pre-qualified, let's get it, in order to buy the house. First things first, my first exit strategy I always consider anytime I get a deal under contract is assigning the contract to someone else. An assignment is simply a contract that goes along with the purchase. So whenever you're working with a realtor, or you're working direct to seller, or you're working with the wholesaler, that's the purchase agreement that you have. Okay, that's the A to B. If you want to bring somebody in, if you want to sell that piece of paper to somebody else, you would write up what's called an assignment agreement that you would be able to transfer your rights to this particular paper to someone else for a fee. It happens all the time. Okay, banks have been doing this for years. Real estate investors do it. You are essentially selling your right to this piece of paper, and you can make upwards to the most I've ever made on an assignment is $50,000, and that was an apartment deal that I got in over here off of Phillips. So that's number one, is an assignment. This is probably one of my favorite ways of doing the traditional non-traditionally. So I always suggest this to first-time home buyers. So the way I would take a traditional deal and turn it creative, and this is assuming you got a pre-qualification letter. This is assuming you're about to get an FHA loan, conventional loan, you're using a realtor. Okay, so let's say that you got a property that they have listed, well, the seller has listed for $200,000, and you want to buy that property, and your bank is telling you that you have to put down 10%. So that's $20,000. But you only have, call it $5,000. Okay, what I would do if I knew that property could appraise, for $220, then I would say, hey, look, Mr. Seller, you want $200, okay? I'm gonna have my realtor make that seller an offer of $215. okay? Because I need $15,000. So I'm gonna make them an offer of $215 with seller concessions of $15,000. Seller concessions is essentially a contingency inside of the buyer's agreement that even though you're gonna pay X amount of dollars, a portion of this would go back towards this. And you say seller concessions because you can use it towards whatever you want. Sometimes seller concessions might be $5,000 for a roof, you know. And if you tell them exactly what you're using it for, they want you to add a contractor's name that the check would go to. But if you just say seller concessions, you essentially can use that money to whatever you want. You make an offer of $215, it looks good to the seller because you're higher, you know, than what he originally wanted, okay? But at the same time, even after your seller concessions, you net what he originally wanted. So that's good. Now, what's gonna happen is on the HUD, after you get it under contract, when you're going to closing table, it's gonna have you receiving $15,000. And on the HUD, instead of receiving it, you just wanna use it towards your down payment. Number 3, this is for all of my people that are wholesaling right now that wanna get into buying and holding, that wanna get into fixing and flipping. Okay, and it's kind of that same scenario where we're moving money around on paper. You just got to figure out a way to actually do it and it's legitimate. As a wholesaler, that first way, we're the signing contracts. Somebody else is paying you that fee, that's how you get it. We're essentially going to do that same thing, but we're going to do it for ourselves at this point. So let's say you're a wholesaler, you're tired of assigning all the deals under contract, or you just see a deal that you finally want. I remember my first one, it was a house on Medhurst in Greensboro. I called it the cat house because we literally had to take out over 100 cats in that house. It was crazy. We got this deal under contract from a Facebook lead for $60,000. ARV on this house was $290,000. Cash wise, we had people offering us $90,000, $100,000 to buy this house from us. Technically, we had the potential to have a $40,000 assignment fee on a single family house. But the deal was so good to me, I was like, why would we do that when we have the potential to have a big assignment, but more so we got the potential to make 100 grand on a deal before. We ain't never made 100 grand on a deal, you know? And so I started really thinking about how I could do the fix and flip myself. My team got a buyer before I could come up with a way to raise the money. The guy ended up backing out. He had a $5,000 non-refundable deposit, money in the bank. So I figured out how to raise the money. And when the guy I raised the money from, when he asked me what was purchasing it for, this is when my brain says, oh, we're purchasing it for $80,000. Remember, we got it on the contract for $60,000. We're purchasing it for $80,000 and it's gonna cost me $70,000 to fix it up. You know, that's instantly what I thought about. And he said, cool, that's great numbers. Send me over your purchase agreement. And so what I did was, instead of sending him the original purchase agreement from my acquisition company, I had my acquisition company write my other LLC an assignment agreement. So we was able to make $20,000. And the benefit of doing this was I was able to pay my team off the $20,000, right? So they can eat right now. So we can continue to market right now. So I can pay my bills right now, right? But also I was able to keep the rehab budgets separate. I'm able to pay myself a fee. Now, for you guys that are wholesaling that doesn't necessarily know how to find private money, everybody knows how to find hard money. And hard money is going to require you to put some amount of money down. And so when you assign it to yourself, of course, you can use that fee as a down payment. Number 4 way to get creative, okay, is when a seller wants to sell to you, don't just think about everything cash, especially if you don't have any. For a while, it took me a long time to get out of my own way with making cash offers, but we got really good at it and we was assigning everything, but I wanted to keep them. Finally, one day, I forget exactly what happened, but the seller just kept telling my acquisition guy that he didn't need the money right now. You know, that's what he was trying to say, that because he wasn't motivated. He was saying, hey, I'm not motivated by saying I don't need it right now. I'm not just gonna take anything. When I talked to the guy after my acquisition guy, I said, well, since you don't need the money right now, how about I'll pay that amount that you want and then we'll just break it up into equal payments. And this guy agreed to it. The beautiful part about saying, if I give you what you want, would you break it up into equal payments? The beautiful part is there's no down payment. The beautiful part about equal payments is there's no interest payments. get creative with the terms. And then lastly, number 5 way of how you can get creative and so you can get into real estate investing right now is to simply go direct to seller with your marketing. Knock on doors, send out mail, make random phone calls, ask for referrals from the neighbor. Simply pick up the phone and start dialing. You can even make a post on Facebook. All you need is to connect directly with the seller, and all of these things become possible because there's no professional, or there's no person that thinks they know it all getting in your way, holding you up from being creative. If you guys want to learn how to use real estate to replace your 9-to-5 income with real estate investing profits, go ahead and subscribe and like, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, y'all.